welcome to No Instructions. I'm Bob.
And I'm Josh.
I almost forgot how to start the show.
That's a good job.
Again.
Whoa, there is a spider right there next to
Oh,
our
crazy.
Lego heads.
It is really, really tiny.
Whoa.
There's no way a camera could see this, but
it's right there.
yeah, it's like in between our fingers there.
If that spider were to scale to our little Lego heads here on the desk, that would be significant. It'd be a spider
you
like...
can't see it. It's too tiny.
Well, not that it would be massive.
Yeah.
But it would be significant.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it's not. So, anyway, welcome to the show. We were back after... Did we miss last week? We missed last week, didn't we?
Yeah, we didn't intend to. But, you know.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's all I can say. My bad, man.
That's the way it goes. Whoa, we have some wacky camera angles here. What are we showing? Oh, the roof line of my... Well, I'm still working on the Blacksmith shop from Lego, and I have 2 bags left, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to finish it today. That's my hope anyway, because I'm kind of tired of it.
2 bags in an episode?
I did like 3 last time.
Wow.
It depends, because they're not... Wow. They're not all the same size bag, you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
So this one's pretty small. Just shingles. So I'm working on roofing today. That's a lot of fun. What are you doing?
I am still...
Oh no, the spider's gone.
Nope.
Oh no. We're doomed.
I am still working on the Ecto-1, the Ghostbusters car. This is going to take a while. I think I'm on bag 9 of 12.
That is a big book.
Yeah. And I saw a picture of this set the other day because it's a Cadillac. So, like, if you can see the video, it has a hood, it has seats and a steering wheel and the fins in the back. So, like, a Cadillac is only this much higher. But the Ghostbusters car is, like, this much higher.
Oh.
It has all of the stuff, like, stuck on the top. So there's... It is as much as I think I've gotten... I don't think I've gotten as far.
I mean, it looks like it's pretty far along. It looks like you would just have to make the top and drop it on, but you're halfway through the book?
Yeah,
maybe?
a little bit more. So I think I'm bag 9 of 13, 12 or 13? I don't remember. But anyway, riveting content.
Let's read off the page numbers of the page that we're on. So I think next I'm going to move on to either of the Scout Trooper helmet, which I'm pretty excited about. It shouldn't take long. These helmet kits are cool, but they don't take very long. The core of them is basically the same. And then I have R2-D2, and I am excited about that one.
Speaking of R2-D2,
Yeah?
he's done.
He is kind of done. Kind of.
As forward-facing, as projecting as we can,
Yeah.
are we projecting that he is done?
He is done.
For all intents and purposes,
Yes.
R2-D2 is done.
For all intensive purpose. Just kidding. Yes. From the perspective of everybody else in the world.
The spider.
The spider? Oh, no.
There he is.
There he is. He's a tiny little guy.
I almost squished him. But go on.
He won't hurt anybody.
No, you're good.
As far as everybody else in the world is concerned, yes, he's done. As far as I'm concerned, no. I mean, there's like a ton of... He's not even weathered.
Oh.
I mean, he's supposed to be the Empire Strikes Back one. And he was dirty that entire movie. So he needs some weathering. And maybe I'll do that. You know, maybe we can do a live stream or something of that at some point. That might be
making a mess on a robot?
Yeah, I mean, that's something you kind of don't really have to pay attention to, but people might find it interesting. I don't know. But there's still a bunch of panels that I would like to eventually make open and close, but it's more of the same. So I want to be honest with myself and say I probably won't ever actually do that, but I might. But either way, some of the panels open and close. He drives around, he makes noises, lights blink. He, you know, he's fully
Looks
RC.
like R2-D2 to me.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So we took it upstairs the other day and took it into the house, not in the basement in the shop area, to get some shots because we don't have room to drive him around down here. So we took it up there into the big open room that's going to be a kitchen someday and drove it around. And it was so much work to get it up there where I was just like, let's just leave it in here and we'll see what Jenny says about it. So she comes in and she's like, oh, he looks really good in here. I'm like, yeah, I know, right? Like, he should just stick around. She's like, yeah, he should.
Hey,
Cool.
It didn't take a lot of convincing.
I married the
great.
coolest. Yeah, it was wasn't even a conversation. She was like, yeah, he looks good in here. Just leave him in here. So now our to-be dining room area has an R2-D2 in it.
Well, that's
I have
fantastic.
zero motivation or interest in need to move him out of there, so he's going to stay. for a while. We'll see. But yeah, that's done. The video for him will be out probably before this show's out. I don't know how quickly these go out, but it will be out this week.
You would think I would know the answer to that, seeing as how I post it. But
you handle both of those things.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. We have a lot of stuff going on, and just an update for anybody that cares. Our countertops were supposed to go in tomorrow for the kitchen, and I was super excited about it, and I thought it was really going to happen this time, and it's not.
It's not.
Snot. It's just snot. Indefinite just delay. So I don't know what's up with that, but it's frustrating because I'm kind of ready for that chapter of my life to be over with. Just want to move on.
Well, what's in there right now looks spectacular.
Well, thank you. I'm
very proud of you, and I hope that you're as proud of you as you should be.
I'm proud of it. Of course, there's always, there's still a million things in my mind, so it doesn't even feel close to being like complete, but it is almost usable. If it weren't for the countertops, it would be 100% usable. But we don't have them yet, and I don't know when they're coming. So anyway, that's the state of things in my world. What's been going on with you? You had the kids all by yourself this weekend, right?
I did. My wife... Okay, hold on. I don't want to say this out loud.
Uh-oh. This is not to do with his wife, I'm pretty sure. I think it's a Lego thing.
It is.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna say I'm missing a piece.
Bum, bum, bum. I doubt
But
it.
then I'm not missing a piece. But I mean, I have eyes, and I've been half-heartedly listening to what you're talking about because I don't want to be wrong.
I appreciate that.
Spider stole it.
Probably.
That
All
butthole
right, what
spider.
piece is
I
it?
am missing this piece.
The double tall,
Yeah.
the 2
Let me
by
look.
1? 1 by
I'll
2?
be right back.
Uh-oh.
So this set has notoriously rewarded me by looking in my used parts pile.
That's a piece that I feel like you would notice if you
Yep.
had an extra one. 'Cause,
It's atypical.
yeah,
And it was a piece I would notice.
and it's not
No,
underneath
I
your
looked.
book,
I
right?
looked in the book. I looked in the packaging because I don't want to say that.
You did drop it in the car? Anything?
I haven't picked it up and put it in a car yet. It wasn't anywhere near the car. I haven't moved it. You people who have seen this camera have seen everything I've seen.
Well, that's a
It's
bummer.
gonna be a real show. You know what's funny?
What? Hey, there it is.
Here's a piece that I needed in the previous parts bin. Check it out, people who have listened. This is just random. Oh,
That's
you know what?
That's a bag that you opened and didn't
It was
use,
a
right?
bag that I opened back at bag 6 because I was like, these are not spare parts. Those are
Yeah,
good parts.
yeah.
Okay, I'm just dumb. See, that's why. That's it. I don't want to say I'm missing a part because I never am. I'm just dumber
It
than
does
Lego
happen,
anticipates.
though. It does happen.
Okay. All is right with the world. What's happening? Where are we?
So we're doing this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
We got to talk about stuff.
Yeah. So I was asking you about the weekend because you were your wife took a trip this weekend.
Yeah, so my wife is now the director of our big homeschool community all around here. She's the boss lady. And she has to plan everything for the upcoming school year. So I guess she's like the principal, I guess. But so not only does she it's a pretty regimented curriculum, but she's got to figure out what's going on for the year. So she and another director from this other area rented an Airbnb up in the big city and just had like a planning weekend. So it wasn't like I guess it was kind of a retreat. Not really like a retreat that we had for
Yeah,
right. Seek inspiration to have fun. Like she had fun, but it was just a work weekend.
Focus.
Away. Yeah.
Yep.
Which I was all about. Like whatever time that she needs or that really anybody needs to get away from your normal everyday life to focus on a thing, I think is a fantastic idea. And I encouraged her to do it more. I was like, she has to plan for the entire year. And I'm like, well, don't. Yeah, it was like, oh, you got to pay for Airbnb and whatever. But I don't want her to feel that this is her one opportunity to get her planning done, because I know that about her, that she will try to focus all of her efforts into this one event. And I asked her how it went, and she said it went really well. But then I also encouraged her, you're going to need to do this again when the time comes up. So, I mean, and they're my children. I mean, I love my children. They're butts a lot of times, but we did that thing to where when there's only one of us, I think that they give us a reprieve. They must agree somehow. So they're like, we'll be easy on the one.
It does seem easier when you have them by yourself for some reason. I don't know why. And I'm not one of those people who go like, oh, the dad has the kids for the weekend? Oh, hope he can survive.
You're watching your children? Like, no. My wife's just not here.
Yeah, they're mine as well.
Yeah.
That drives me crazy. So I didn't mean the question in that way at all.
Oh, no, I know you didn't.
Just curious how it went. And, if
Yeah,
you guys
everything
did anything
was
fun or...
What did we do? They hung out here with your kids, which I think that they liked more than anything. Because our families get along and our kids... your kids are super busy. And my kids are just wild and crazy. In any opportunity, they're like, can we go to Clackett's house? Or can they come over and play? Or like, we talked about you guys being at church. They're like, oh my God, they're going to be at church. Can we be at church? Can they come to our house and spend the night? And then they can go to lunch and then they can hang out here for the summer?
Can they live here, please?
Yo, hold on.
Yeah.
They're busy. So we did that. I think before that, did we talk about Taekwondo?
Not on here, I don't think.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know.
No, because we didn't record last week.
That's right.
So my oldest son, who is going to turn 11 soon, and my middle son, who's about to turn 7 on Wednesday. So happy birthday, buddy. Mm-hmm. I think that they would really enjoy like martial arts and Taekwondo. And my oldest son has said some stuff about it. That when we used to live in Georgia, near where you guys used to live, we went to this one super rednecky martial arts studio. It didn't like claim to be karate or taekwondo or judo or anything, and it was terrible. The whole place was terrible. It was like daycare, but like kids dressed up in karate costumes. They didn't do anything. There was no structure to it. And that was really frustrating because I progressed up to a red belt in taekwondo before I think my freshman year of high school. I think I stopped. But I really liked it. I liked the discipline. I liked you had a standard and you had to work to that standard and then you were rewarded for your efforts. And so they have 2 free classes that are available like throughout the week before you have to commit to signing up. And I took my oldest son and I took my middle son. And my oldest son super loved it. He had a whole bunch of questions and I tried to preface, what it was all about. You have a collection of moves that are called forms and then you do one-on-one sparring and he was like, well, I don't have a uniform. I'm like, no, you just wear like a white shirt and just some clothes because you're going to stand out because you don't know what you're doing. And
right.
I'm really surprised now that my almost 7-year-old, like how hard, or let me see, the standard that he places on himself for things that he absolutely doesn't know how to do. Like he's a little kid. He barely knows how to do anything. Like I taught him how to tie his shoes recently and he did a fantastic job. But he's like so hard on himself and it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
And so I try to I want to involve him in this decision too because it was something my older son was interested in just because I want him to gain some confidence in himself. And I tried to tell him, I'm like, buddy, when we get in here, like you're going to suck at this. Like that's it. That's the reality. You're going to suck at this because you don't know what you're doing. He's like, well, what if I do it wrong? I'm like, you are going to do it wrong. Everything you do is wrong because like in a loving way. Like everything you're going to do is wrong because you don't know what right is.
Right. Yeah.
So just listen. And when they tell you to do something, try your best to do it. And you're probably not going to be able to do it. And the people in the room they're going to be doing the thing that you're trying to do and you can't. I said, why do you think that is? Why do you think they're able and you're not able? Well, because they've been doing it for a long time. Like, exactly. So don't hold yourself to this standard that you're not going to be able to achieve and that you're going to be upset about. And they went out on the mat. And they had a class that was like preparing for testing. So in Taekwondo, you test for a belt and then you progress through the rank structure. And so there was a lot going on. And they had this kid who was a black belt, who was probably my son's age, who was like, all his moves were crisp and sharp and awesome. And I took him in the back after a while and just working with him individually. And just like watching these 2 goofy, fuzzy-headed kids in their like blue basketball shorts and their Fortnite shirt turned inside out so it could kind of look like a white shirt and jumping all around. And my wife asked me how it was going and I was like, they look like 2 baby giraffes just like flopping all around and trying to take really big strides. And it was really entertaining to watch. My oldest son the whole time had like this, he kept talking about Avatar and he was like, when do I get to do the moves like the people in Avatar do?
I want to airbend.
Yeah. And then my youngest son was just trying to keep up and he was getting frustrated. At one point he started to kind of get teared up. And so this homeboy black belt kid like went over to him and was like showing him these breathing techniques which I have tried so hard to get my son to do to try to calm himself down, which he never really listened. I watched this black belt kid talk to my son for like maybe a minute, and you can see him like posturing himself to like take a deep breath and letting him out, and he's got his hands in a certain position. Like he completely calmed himself down with the help of this other kid.
Awesome.
And I was like, this kid is a miracle worker.
You're my kid now.
This is fantastic. And I went up to that kid afterward, and I was like, I praised on him. I'm like, dude, that was awesome. And I asked my youngest if he wanted to go back. He's like, I don't know. I'm not very good at it. And I'm like, yeah, I know you're not. But my oldest son like walked off the mat and was like, sign me up right now, please. I'm ready to do this. Let's do it. So I think at least one of my kids is going to start doing taekwondo.
So they've just done the one class. Are they going to do the other like
Yeah,
trial?
we're going to go tonight.
Okay.
I asked my middle son if he wanted to go, and he hemmed back and forth. And I'm like, well, you don't have to if you don't want to. He's interested in doing the robotic Lego League.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's my engineer kid. So if he doesn't want to, he doesn't want to. I mean, whatever. But I would like him to try it and be able to explain to me what he doesn't like about it.
Right.
And this class is more geared toward the white and yellow belts, the first 2 ranks. So it should be a bit slower pace.
Oh, yeah. Well, that may give him a different perspective on it.
I hope so.
I think, I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
I just play it on TV.
But I think that him being a middle child has something to do with that response, because my middle son, I have 4 kids, I don't know if I'm a middle child, but in the boys I have a middle child who has that same tendency to be really hard on himself, and I think it's because they look at their older sibling who's not really that much older than them, and in everyday tasks where they just haven't, like you said, they haven't had the experience to be able to even try to do something yet, they see it being done by somebody who they kind of see, similar, not equal.
As a peer?
Yeah. And so I think they get in the habit of just like, well, if they can do it, I should be able to do it, and I can't yet, so that means something. Or it just makes me upset because I don't know how to get there. So I see that a lot in our son. And
I mean, I'm a middle child, and I still have that.
Oh, okay. That's a good perspective, yeah.
I absolutely have that kind of chip on my shoulder. Like, I am absolutely my worst critic. I don't want there to be anything in the world that I'm not good at. And I kind of had that tendency as a kid that, like, if I wasn't good at it, I didn't want to do it. And so it was a defense mechanism to, like, I could avoid being disappointed in myself if I didn't do it at all. Like, I don't play basketball.
Oh, right.
I like playing basketball by myself. I don't want to play basketball around other people. Like, even when I was doing CrossFit, like, a part of me kind of liked CrossFit. But in that group setting, I was the weakest link, and I wasn't good at it, and it was known to more than one person that I was not as good as everybody else, so I don't want to do it. And so I get his response. And I think having that perspective, I tried to front load that.
Yeah.
And I try, with him especially, to get him to understand, they're like, you are not bad at what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And everybody starts that way. And I tried to talk to him, like the black belt guy who was in charge. He was super snappy and, like, handsome dude who looked like he could punch some people up in their face. And I was like, you see that guy? I was like, is that guy good at this or is he bad at this? He was like, he's really good at this. I was like, yep. And he started exactly where you are, in the back of the class with somebody else trying to help him along, looking like a goofy giraffe. So you have to start somewhere. And
yeah,
I don't know if that will land or not. But
well, so we kind of are running into similar stuff with this kid that I was talking about. Our kids started a soccer camp today. So our soccer season literally ended yesterday. We'll talk about that in just a second. But they started a soccer camp today, put on by the local high school, and it's for all different ages. So a lot of the players in the JV and varsity teams are the coaches for this. And so they're teaching fundamentals and stuff. And since we came right off a spring soccer season, it's summertime, we were like, let's just put them in this, let them get a little bit more instruction before they kind of take a break for the summer. Because they all enjoyed soccer a lot this year. And the one of my kids that I'm talking about just apparently about 20 or 30 minutes into this 2.5-hour camp this morning. So Jenny sends me a message and she's like, he's crying, he's upset at a water break. And I'm like, why? Is it just hot because it's like 90 degrees outside, you know? And she said, no, he's, everybody's better than him.
Yeah.
Now, this is a good soccer player. This is a kid who, he's a little gangly. He's, you know, a little floppy. But he can play soccer well. And so he has that same thing where he got put on a team with kids who are a little bit older than him and who play for the competitive leagues here. So I don't know why they're in a soccer camp, but you know, he was surrounded by people who were better at it than him. Mm-hmm. And just because he was on another team, who he was also surrounded by people that are better than him, he just immediately compares himself. It's not that he's there to learn to get better. He's not seeing that part of it. He's looking past that completely, and he's just doing the comparison thing. So I feel for both of them in that. And I don't know, other than just continuing to encourage, you know. When he got home, I think he was better. He did end up enjoying it, but he's kind of like, I don't know, it was all right. Like, I don't know if I really want to go back. I'm like, well, I paid for it. You're going back. So, but I think it'll end up kind of paying off. You know, I think the week will be better than the day. That's my hope. But so they had this tournament this weekend. Soccer season was over 2 weeks ago of their actual season, and both teams, one of my boys and my girl are on a team together. My wife is the assistant coach for that team. Then she's the head coach for my youngest's team. They were both in the tournament. And so the season ended. We had 2 weeks of no games, just a few practices here and there. And then this weekend was 4 soccer games on Saturday and 2 soccer games yesterday. Ooh. It is 90-something degrees outside.
Yeah, we were swimming.
It was terrible. So hot. Like, I mean, I'm not complaining about me. I was sitting there in a chair with an umbrella, like, boo-hoo. But these kids, lots and lots of kids, were playing really hard in the heat, in the full sun. And it was humid. It had rained a bunch the night before. The fields were all wet and soggy. They had to close a bunch of them and move games around. But it was just like, you could just see the hot breath coming off the ground. It was nasty. So they played. My youngest team, they've been losing pretty much all season. And they're like 7 and 8 year olds. I mean, they don't, you know, whatever. They're having fun. They're disappointed when they lose, but it's not really that big of a deal. They did fine. They lost. I think they won a game. But anyway, the older two played super hard and won the championship.
Nice.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. I mean, there's different age groups, you know, but in their age group, they won. And they tied a game, and then they won 2 other games. And they just killed it. Like, both of my kids, those 2 kids have been getting, all 3 of them, but especially those 2 have been getting better and better and better all season long. And so the team has all improved. They're working together. And it, as someone who has never been into sports, who has never cared about the effect that sports can have, like I hear, you know, it teaches kids teamwork and it teaches sportsmanship. And yeah, okay, sure, I guess. I don't know. That was never a thing for me. I am so glad that they have been playing soccer because I've seen them change, you know, in a positive direction just in a few months. I mean, the soccer seasons are not long. But it's been really, really good. My daughter, when we started playing soccer, it's been a couple years ago now, and they took the long COVID break. She was like, I don't know if she's ever going to be a athlete type person. She was at that point. Yeah.
That's fun to look back.
I know, right? Now she's like, has all these gymnastics awards, and they keep asking her to move up in teams because she's so good at it, and they want her to learn all these new skills and everything. And so with soccer, at the beginning of this season, none of the kids wanted to play. They all told us day of signups, they were like, no, I don't think we want to do it this year. And we were like, well, okay, we're not going to force you. And then 10 o'clock that night, signups closed it at 12. 10 o'clock, we're putting them to bed. We'd watch a movie or something, and there was one of them was like, yeah, I think maybe I do want to play soccer. Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. So, like, okay, we sign them all up. Over the season, they get better and better and better. And my daughter especially becomes a forward. She ends up scoring a bunch in games. She ends up like becoming really good teamwork with these certain people. Like she's getting it. She's clicking. And the coach who's a friend of ours keeps like, man, you guys might want to think about like if she likes this, she could be competitive. Like she can move on past this recreational league. So we talked to her about it. She's doing gymnastics, which takes up a ridiculous amount of time. And they want her to move up. And so we're like, look, if you want to do soccer, you can. If you want to do gymnastics, you can. But there are physically not enough hours in the day for you to do both. Yeah. And she's the kid that can do it all and do it all well and wants to do it all. I mean, she and I see a lot of myself in her, and I can see how frustrated she can be with like that there's just not enough days and there's not enough time and there's not enough hours, and she just wants to do it all. And so she's been struggling really hard with deciding, whether she wants to go down this path with gymnastics or this one with soccer. And then the competitive soccer thing came up. We're like, well, there's this team here, competitive team. They're having tryouts. If you want to give it a shot, I mean, like, go to the tryout. And if you make it, then you can decide whether you want to do it or not. No big deal, Yeah. So she's like, well, I'll give it a shot. So she goes and go to this tryout. There's like, 40-something girls at this tryout. Most of them are already on the team and are like practicing or whatever to stay on the team. Oh. And she's one of very few people, like maybe 5 or 6, who had never played competitive there. And they asked her to be on the team.
That's fantastic.
And she turned it down.
Oh.
We got this email and it's like accept or decline. And I'm like, oh wow, that's straight through the front door. Like, here's your chance. If you want it, you got to click this button. I'm not going to do it for you. And she went back and forth for a couple days, and she was like, I mean, I really like soccer and I want to keep playing, but it's year round. It's travel team. Mm-hmm. It's a lot. She was like, I just don't know what I want to do yet. And I said, well, then you don't need to commit yourself to a year-long anything if you don't know. And so she turned it down. So the story gets even better. Ooh. So she's like, that's the end of the season, right? 2 weeks ago. So they're practicing. And at the end of one of her games, this girl comes up. And a girl about her age that we've never seen before. And she comes up and says, I'm with this other team name that I've never heard of. I'm with this other team. You did great today. We're like, cool, thank you. And then we were leaving, so we just walked off, and that was the end of it. And then later on, we were like, who was that? What was she talking about? What is the team? And I looked it up, couldn't find anything about it. So, long and short of it, she's getting scouted by this other competitive team. They've had the coach, the main guy who set up the team, his daughter, who was this girl, and another lady that we know that apparently is the manager for this team, all came to different practices to watch her practice in different games, to watch her, and have not attacked. They have talked to my wife and I individually and her at this thing this weekend at these games, and they're just like, I know that you turned down the other team and everything, but we'd really like to have you, and if you want to play, here's how we do it, and we do it differently. And they are like, we really want you to be on the team. The thing that's crazy to me, I'm really, really proud of her, but it's crazy to me that she has people come at her age. She's going in 7th grade. She has people coming after her trying to get her on the team, and she has the what's the word?
Self-awareness?
Awareness, confidence, whatever, to say no. To say, like, there's a chance that I could have something. It's not the best, and I'm not going to do it. That's awesome to me, because I know so many people in that age. I know I would have been like, somebody wants me? Yes. Yeah. Sure, I'll do it. And then later on would have been like, this is way too much, and now I'm going to have to, like, back out, and I'm going to have to take that on as a... But she's really, really impressive to me. I mean, not only she's doing a great job, so she's impressive at what she's doing, but also how she's handling. I have lots of opportunities, and I can be mature and not necessarily do them all, even though I would like to try everything and stuff like that. So,
do you see this as a precursor for kind of what she's probably going to have to, or not have to, what she's going to experience in high school into college?
I do. I think
because she's good at everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is the beginning of a bunch of these conversations with her. I think she's going to have to eventually get to a point where she decides which instrument she's going to have to let go of, because you just can't do them all. You know, I mean, in high school and college, like, you can't practice everything at the same time. I think she's going to be like, you know, I don't know which one of these scholarships I should take advantage of. This is also, just to brag, because that's what I'm doing right now.
You go.
This is the girl who has had absolute straight A's forever. Like, I don't think she's ever gotten a B, and if she did, it was like a just under the line kind of thing or something. So when she gets like a 98, that's when I constantly joke with her. I'm like, that's unacceptable, because you've dipped below the 99, and you know, she laughs about it. She knows I'm not serious, but she has a great work ethic. She is just talented in things. And she's good at time management. She's responsible. She's not the one I would worry about of my kids, you know. I mean, she's the one that I can trust to take care of the stuff she needs to take care of. So I do think that she's going to run into more of this type of stuff. And I'm glad that she has the awareness to handle it now, because, I think there will be more of it. I'm not sure how my boys are going to do with that, because boys are kind of stupid in a lot of ways, especially at that age. And I don't know that they have the drive that she has. So maybe they'll never be confronted with, you know, here are so many opportunities that I can't do them all, and I have to figure out how to.
Well, I think that's the goal as a parent, is to try to steer your kids into the areas that they will have those opportunities.
That's a good point.
Because I can see the difference in all my kids, even with an 11, a 7, and a 5-year-old. Like, you know what they enjoy. And like my daughter loves cooking. Like, she's, like I said, 6? How old, whatever age she is? 6? And she's the only one that's been able to tell me like what she wants to do when she grows up, which is kind of silly at such a young age. But she has a thing that she absolutely loves to do. And that was a weird sound.
Interesting. I think it was a chair upstairs.
Oh.
Or a giant bee, one of the two.
Or someone got electrocuted.
I didn't hear any screaming, so I don't think it was that.
You wouldn't.
True.
But, yeah, like with the taekwondo thing, like my oldest son has so many interests that are individual. He doesn't like being on a team. And so to try to go like, oh, let's go play football, let's go play soccer or whatever, like, yeah, we've tried, and he has, and he can tell me why he doesn't like it. And so it's really difficult when it's not like the most obvious thing, like, oh, you can go to school and here, go play baseball, and just be good at baseball. When I was a kid, maybe it was that like being hard on myself mentality. I could never really find that thing, that like spark or whatever, that thing that I was really passionate about. I did really well in school, but I wasn't passionate about it. It was just easy.
Right.
And so the thing that you can be like super proud of yourself that would set you apart from your peers, I didn't know what it was. But then, not that it was a fault of my parents, but like in my situation, I had these amount of opportunities in front of me. Or I had other ones that I just didn't take hold of. Either because I had no one to try to push me, or I was lazy and dumb because I was a kid. But I think now that I'm in this situation, like I don't want my kids to get to college and like not have something that they're good at. Or something that they can be proud of, you know, or something that they can say that they have skills in.
Right.
Because then you're just kind of aimless, and everything seems like a good idea, but you have no direction. And I see that in my middle son right now, because he's so hard on himself, that there are a few things that he would openly admit to like really enjoying or saying that he was good at. And so Legos are a thing. Like, he loves building Legos, and I will sit down and always play Legos with him. I was that kid. I didn't know that the first robotic Lego League was a thing. I don't know if it was around when I was a kid. But it's an engineering path that is rooted in a toy that he already loves.
Yeah.
And so that is a really easy, to me, like transition from something that's just fun and silly to something that could have amazing opportunities for you as you progress academically. And whether it's cooking for my daughter, or whether it's taekwondo or reading or drawing or whatever it happens to be, like I'm hyper focused on trying to find something that my kids will enjoy outside of the house So, like, the same reason, so that they could have team building, they can build a community, they can be proud of themselves. It can afford them opportunities that they wouldn't notice. I remember there was a couple girls that were on a soccer team in my high school. They got scholarships to really good schools. And I remember thinking, like, there's the entire lot of football players, right? If you're going to compare crowd turnout or, like, community engagement with the football team versus the girls' soccer team, how many more of those girls' soccer players went on to be competitive collegiate athletes compared to the football players, who none of them really went anywhere? And so it's really crazy to think about, like, yeah, if she gets on a competitive team, like, is that the traveling team? Like, is that one of the things? I always heard the traveling team whenever I was in school. I played soccer, but I was never good enough to be on the traveling team. But I was cool with that because I just wanted to hang out and play soccer with my friends. It was never a drive to be anything more than that.
Right.
So that's awesome that she has those opportunities, or that now you guys are aware of those opportunities.
Yeah.
So that you can present them to your other kids in case that is something that they didn't either know was available, or it could be that spark that kind of kickstarts them along that path too. So I think a lot of awareness in what is around you and available to them, and an awareness in your kids' particular interests and personalities, like, is a really, really great thing. That seems pretty obvious. But, like,
well,
I'm at that point in my life now where it is more important to try to find those things rather than just, like, yeah, just clean up your mess and do the dishes and make sure your chores are good. Like,
go play.
That was the metric of, like, your success as an adolescent. And now they're having to branch out and prepare for adulthood and building complicated sets of skills. You know, not just reading and writing, but, like, you're talking about team building and self-worth. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, it is a little bit of a tricky, or can be a tricky situation. Like, there's a difference between exposure and, like, saturation, right? Like, I want the kids to be able to try everything. I want each one of them to individually be able to try all the sports or all the musics or all the arts or all the engineerings or whatever and give it a shot. But I also don't want to be the parent that's like, you know what? Your summer is completely packed because we've signed you up for a baking camp and a weaving camp and a volleyball. You know, like, I don't want to saturate them to where they don't want to actually do anything because they never have a chance to just be bored.
Well, I think that's something that I have to battle, like, allowing them to have input on those things, allowing them to tell me what they're interested in when they may not know what they're interested in.
Yeah.
So, like, my middle son right now, when he's going back and forth on Taekwondo, like, he kind of wants to do it. He can see some benefits, but he's afraid that he's going to be bad at it. And so part of me is like, well, I want you to stick through it, see if you like it, have some perseverance, have some fortitude, but at the same time be able to listen to them and go, it might not be his thing.
Yeah.
When it could have taken up time where he could be exercising his thing. So I don't know what that is. My daughter wants to do ballet dancing. And shocker, she wants to do the stuff that your daughter's doing because your daughter is an amazing role model who is so kind to my 6-year-old. And my 6-year-old wants all of her attention whenever they're around. And she gives it willingly. It's super kind and nice. But I don't know. I try to think back of, like, the things that I was interested in as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I played baseball. And I loved playing baseball. But, like, going into school, like, the baseball team was already picked. Like, they didn't have tryouts or anything. Like, they was just like, that was the baseball team. I'm like, oh,
really?
Like, I'm kind of interested in baseball. Or I didn't pursue things to the level that your kids are now. You get out of soccer season, then you go into soccer camp, and then you do traveling thing, so that when high school comes around, like, they're the obvious pick for the soccer team.
Right.
To where when I was playing soccer, I'm like, I'm kind of familiar with the rules. They're like, well, this is not the place where you learn. This is the place where you do. The learning is happening a long time ago when you were a kid, and if you just weren't on that train, it seemed to me, this could have just been my rough opinion. That,
no,
like,
I think that's right.
I was like, oh, well, I guess because I didn't do it in the past, I don't get the opportunity to try to do it now.
Yeah.
So I was on the JV soccer team. Whoops. But that was as far as I really went.
Yeah, I think that's still kind of the case. And that is a shame because, you know, it makes it so there's a pressure to pick an interest early and stick with it, either because you've gotten so far along or because Like, there's nothing else that you could catch up on quickly enough. Like, you may as well just do this. You may as well keep playing baseball or keep being a swimmer or keep being a whatever because you've done it. I mean, my daughter's kind of finding that with gymnastics. Like, she enjoys it. She wants to do it, more of it, continue to do it. But the only option at this point is either to stay in the same level you're at and compete with the same number of actions and motions and stuff, or you move up to an extra 4 hours of practice a week on a Saturday morning every week for a year. I'm like that's a huge commitment for a kid to just, this is what I'm doing for the next year just because I don't want to stand still. It's not like you can't get better at doing the same thing. I don't know. It's weird.
Do you think that she could be in the Olympics one day?
No, and I've talked about this, not because I don't think she's capable, but I think, like, I haven't talked to her about this, but I've talked to my wife about, like, what is the end game with that? And it is possible to get a scholarship through gymnastics and for it to be and to teach it, you know? I mean, like, I'm not saying there's not an end game, but it is not as clear to me as how you would use a lot of other things. You know, and I mean, I guess you could say the same thing about soccer or volleyball or swimming or tennis or whatever else sports, you know, you can't play a sport forever, right? But that doesn't mean that it can't afford you a lot and you can enjoy it for a really long time. Gymnastics feels like one of those things that as you grow up, if your body turns out to be a certain way, you just don't get to do gymnastics.
Yeah, but there's a lot of
competitively.
Yeah, I think that just like anything, that there's an infrastructure surrounding a thing. And it's a huge gamble. Like any prowess-based activity, you can be as good as you can be, and you know, and there's always the threat that you may hurt yourself or whatever, and then you can't anymore. Yeah. So I think using it as a means to an end is maybe the weird, selfish perspective I have, that if my daughter or my sons were in that position, I'm like, use this thing as a train to scholarship to college. Yeah. That always being the thing, because if you blow out your knee or you do the whatever, then you got to go sell insurance somewhere and you can talk about the time back in the day when you did a thing. So use it to get an education, because why not? I had to serve in the military to be able to finish my education. If you can kick a ball around for a while to get your education, then dope. Do that instead. Yeah. And then see where that takes you. But at least have like that goal. This will at least get me to this station. And then if you're good enough to be challenged to push toward the Olympics, then boom, do that. Like, that's an opportunity. Seize that one too. But like, don't lose sight of, I think, the goal. If the goal is to do it professionally, then do it. This is me and how I would approach my kids. You do it professionally once you finish your degree.
Oh yeah.
Because once you blow that knee out at the 5-yard line, like, you got nothing else.
Yeah. And I wouldn't want to discourage them from trying to do a sport professionally. It seems bananas to me that that's even a possibility for people. But
says the guy who gets to make silly things in his basement on the internet.
Sure. I don't know. I got nothing for that. But I don't want. Yeah, I wouldn't want anybody to rely on that. And I don't know that is a primary goal. Like that should be a primary goal for anybody. For my kids, I'm not gonna speak for anybody else. But as of right now, the big thing with her specifically is that I just want to remind her as often as possible that she is capable of so much and can really, literally do anything she wants to do. And I don't want her to overcommit to something as a 7th grader that will stop her from being able to just try the things that she wants to try. Because I think she's not a one-trick pony. You know? Mm-hmm. She's not the person who, like, well, that she's good at that, let's go with that one, just like because of everything else. You know, she's not that. Like, she could do any of it, and I don't want her to miss out on an opportunity because she's completely burned out of doing gymnastics every Saturday morning for a year for 4 hours. Like, that's just crazy to me. Some people do it and they love it, and that's great. And if she loves it, that's great, and I'm all for it. But the thing is, I know that she can love a lot of different things, and she can be good at them. So I want her to have the opportunity to. So
the Junior Olympics are also a thing. A friend of mine in high school went to the Junior Olympics. Yep, he got a silver medal in hockey.
Do you get paid when you get I've always been a little confused about that, because I know it's going to the Olympics, getting a medal. Like, it's a big deal. It proves that you are the best of the best of the best in a certain thing. Maybe it's my non-competitive nature to say like, well, yeah, but like, what does that do? Like, that's a moment of glory.
You get money. We looked that up one time on the show because we talked about this. You win a certain amount of money for a gold, silver, bronze medal. But then it's the opportunity to train other people or get sponsorships or play professionally thereafter. Because I think Olympic athletes are supposed to be amateur level or like non-professional level.
Really?
I could be wrong. I think so. But then that doesn't explain why Michael Jordan was in the Olympics.
Oh. Maybe the team sports are different.
I don't know. But yes, you do win money. It's not like enough to live on, but I'm sure that just like that, it affords opportunities to do other things.
Yeah, endorsements and stuff, I guess.
Yeah, and go teach other people how to do it because you've got some credentials now.
Get on a cereal box. That'd be pretty cool.
Have you ever had Wheaties?
I don't think so.
If
you got to have your face on the front of a cereal box, like for a year, like you were the spokesperson for Cocoa Butter Puffs.
O's.
O's?
It would be O's.
O's.
Post or Quaker? I don't remember who makes O's, but it would be O's.
I think it's Quaker.
Because they're awesome, and it would be just me, like, pointing at people. Going like, this is literally the best cereal on this entire aisle. Stop searching. And then me and my thumbs
Wouldn't
up.
you just be going like, oh? 'Cause that'd be better. Or like two of them. O's. It's two O's. Get it?
Oh. Get it now.
What? Uh-oh. I have pieces.
Oh, geez.
Or I missed something.
I forgot a piece.
Man, I don't know. What cereal box would I be on?
I didn't ask.
I'm not asking you. I'm asking myself. Man, which one would I be
I don't know.
on?
You would have to call them sugar cereals. And I don't think they'd take kindly to that.
Huh. Might it be Golden Grams? I just really like Golden Grams.
Golden Grams are good snacky cereal because they turn into like wet leaves after a couple minutes.
Wet leaves. All right, I think I'm done with this. 2 bags.
That's
all
awesome.
done. Yeah. Speaking of Lego, did you see the typewriter set?
I did.
What did you think about that?
I think it's neat. I wouldn't buy it.
You wouldn't buy it?
I've never had a connection to a typewriter.
Well, yeah, me neither.
So, like, while I think it is an interesting mechanical set, just like the piano, I think the piano is a fascinating Lego set. I don't have a connection to the piano, or it would definitely be on the list. Like, they get me with space stuff. Like, yeah, sure. Just take my money. I'll get space stuff. Because it's both. So where the typewriter and the piano are engineering marvels, but I'm not as keen on the actual subject matter.
It's funny, when they announced the piano, my first thought was, oh, this is going to be great. I definitely want that. And then I just kind of didn't want it.
It's very expensive, and it can do a lot.
I don't know why.
It's like a little player piano. It's kind of crazy.
I blow money on all sorts of other Lego sets that are like halfway interesting.
Well, you were talking about like all the sets that you have to build after this. I'm like, this is the one that I have. I ordered the Infinity Gauntlet, but I don't think it's going to be here until like August.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen.
You'll find something, I'm sure. There are new helmets. A lot of new helmets out. They haven't done an X-Wing helmet yet, have they?
No, but I almost bought an X-Wing helmet the other day because I just wanted it, and it was nerdy, and I wanted it, but then I didn't. And then that day when I didn't buy the X-Wing helmet, my electric toothbrush broke because I was trying to change the batteries, and I broke a piece. So I used my X-Wing nerdy helmet money on a fancy toothbrush. Because I'm a grown-up.
What an adult.
I know. It's a really nice toothbrush, though. Like, way better than my previous one. Because,
does
since
the same
we
job,
spoke,
though, right?
Theoretically. Since we spoke, I got rid of my... I didn't say I get rid of. I finished my Invisalign trays.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That started and stopped kind of on this podcast.
That's cool.
That's a really nice Lego set.
Yeah, this is a good-looking building. And it, like, you can take the roof panels off.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can get to it. You can take the top level of the building off somehow. I'm afraid I'm going to break something.
Ha. My wife just wrote me. Said, homeboy wants to go to Taekwondo again tonight.
Oh, there you go. Cool.
So we'll see
Yeah.
how it goes.
At least he'll give it another shot,
That's right.
and that's good.
He's obviously not as excited about it, so my expectations with him are a little bit different. But I mean, at a certain point, I do have to pay for it. So
That is true.
and lots of stuff is expensive along the same lines.
Oh my goodness.
My daughter is a fantastic swimmer for the tiniest little person. She's very good at it. She has pretty good technique. There's a swim team in town, which is one of those things that like I was always interested in, but never had that opportunity growing up. Well, there is one here, and she meets the age cutoff for like the lowest entry level. It is very expensive.
Yeah.
I can understand why just a bunch of white bread fancy people have swim teams, and why they're always the bad guy in all the 80s movies, because it's super expensive to be on a swim team.
Yeah.
I imagine ski team the same.
The curling team and the field hockey and the prep sports from the 80s. Yeah, it's all very expensive. I mean, that's another whole thing about the gymnastics. It's like, you know, for her, like they're motivating them to move up every year, but that means more practices, which means more money, which means more commitment to like, I mean, they have to buy like leotards. I'm sure swim teams would have to have a certain swimsuit and certain goggles and certain
The little cap. What's your name on it?
certain mermaid fins and all sorts of
I don't know.
But yeah, it's expensive. One of the things Jenny is, you know, was a head coach and an assistant coach, and that's all volunteer stuff. But they were trying to get her on the council or whatever. I don't know what they call it. It's the group of people who make the decisions about local soccer. Trying to get her to be a part of it, and she's like, "Well, I'm already coaching 2 teams, and I don't know what I'm doing." And I'm busy, and I have 4 kids. And they were like, yeah, but your kids won't have to pay for it.
But knowing what you're doing is never a prerequisite to be on any board. I would like to point that out.
Well, I think she meant with the coaching thing. She was like trying to figure out the coaching, and like getting on a board would be a whole nother thing.
Well, she and I had the conversation when she was trying to decide whether or not she wanted to be a coach.
Yeah.
I've been a t-ball coach for many, many years, and she was talking about like, I don't know if I have the skills or whatever to commit to being head coach. I'm like, literally the only thing you need to do is kind of have a mediocre interest in being the head coach. That's the only criteria. And then once someone in the city sports or whatever gets a hold of that little droplet of blood in the water, like you're done. You're the head coach.
Yeah,
for at least 3 teams.
Yeah, so but it was funny, their justification for her spending more time was, yeah, but you won't have to pay for your kids. They all get to play for free. We're like, you have no idea how much that doesn't matter at this moment. Like, having some time is worth a lot of money to me. Having her committed to another thing would, no thank you. I would pay money for her to not have to do more than she already does. So it's all expensive, but I'm glad at least that with the soccer thing, at least my younger 3 are motivated to keep doing it. My oldest, they lost every single game for 2 seasons straight. And it's not the same group of kids, but like the first coach didn't care, and he was kind of a not cool guy. And so he didn't try very hard and made them not try very hard. The second team, they were just gangly 7th and 8th graders and just couldn't quite pull it together. But I don't know that he's going to be interested to keep doing it because he's had such an extended bad experience. You know, you don't have any positive reinforcement there to win and get that feeling. You're not going to really want to put in the work to do it. So we'll see.
That was my experience playing soccer.
Yeah.
I was on a JV team, and we sucked. Yeah. And the coach was like a football coach that was left over because we didn't have an actual soccer coach. So like, it was fun to like, oh, we get to ride on the bus to a new city when it's dark outside and like have some weird like extra little school related activity.
Yeah. But
other than that, there was really no real solidifying goal for that soccer team. We weren't great. There were a couple people that were. I wasn't one of them.
I just realized that we're like 55 minutes in and we never talked about Loki.
You like it?
I like it a lot.
I like it a lot also.
It was very, very good. One thing I thought was really cool, we'll do a quick little 5-minute thing because I know it's like almost 5 o'clock and we got to go and stuff. But my parents, who have watched some of the Marvel stuff, they've been watching the shows with us and everything, but they haven't seen all the movies. And so we sat down to watch Loki with them. They come over and we have dinner and stuff. And my mom was like, okay, fill me in on who this guy is. And so I went into like 5-10 minute trying to pick out the highlights and who he was and explain, he's kind of a jerk, but he's also a good guy, and he's not really a good guy because he basically just screws everybody over. But I gave her the rundown, and then we watched the episode, and they did a way better job of initiating people who had no idea who he was and how he was. They did a fantastic job of wrapping up a huge amount of character and setting up like where he can go. The self-realization in that moment when he watched himself die. Oh, spoiler alert, by the way. That laugh, man, I was like, he now has glorious purpose. He knows where he's headed. He's got to do something else, and that was fantastic.
So one thing I noticed after watching it a second time,
I need to watch this.
we're going to spoil this last little piece. So when he watches himself die, it's on a reel-to-reel. And then the reel ends. Mm-hmm. But the reel doesn't end when Thanos lets him go. The reel ends whenever he's in Thor's arms. So he must have been alive when Thor had him in his lap, and he was very sad. Ooh. So that was his last moment, was being embraced by his brother. I thought that show was excellently done.
Yeah.
I think that, yes, he was super smug and arrogant, as Loki does. I think it was super cool how they made him be D.B. Cooper. I didn't understand what Owen Wilson said, and then it cut to him, and he's talking to the lady. I knew a lot about D.B. Cooper because I researched it, and I think it's an interesting thing. I was like, oh, man, they're going to make him D.B. Cooper. My wife and my kids are like, what? Who's that? What's that mean? What's happening? Who's this? What's he doing? I'm like, be quiet. I'm like, that was a cool little, for no other reason, just to be fun.
Yeah, like it won't connect to anything at all.
Nope. But he's like, I lost a bet to Thor.
Yeah, that was great.
I think that show was fantastic so far. I think out of all of the ancillary MCU content on Disney Plus, like, I don't have to wait to be engaged.
Yeah, totally.
WandaVision,
agree.
I was like, okay, you kind of have me because this is weird, and I'm just intrigued as to what's going on. I need more information to really form an opinion. Winter Soldier, Falcon and Winter Soldier, I was like, okay, you got to do something. Loki, like, that first episode stood on its own, was good. It had engaging characters. I believed in the premise. I think it had a lot of depth. Mm-hmm. Like him watching his that line, he was like, "I'm gonna kill you." He's like, "Oh, like you did your mom?" I was like, "Ugh,
yeah,
ooh," and he didn't even know that he killed his mom. I think that whole, like, the time travel version as to, like, where Loki is in time, what he knows that he has done, and what he doesn't know that he has done. And I think that this episode really did a fantastic job of informing the viewer of all of the stuff, because they have to inform the main character of all of the stuff. And I think that was brilliantly done.
And I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that setup of, like, because we haven't experienced the alternate version of a character yet. Mm-hmm. And so I just was still in the mindset of, like, well, that's the Loki that we've all known so far. And it really isn't. It's the variant, right? And I didn't think about that. You get to see your potential future, your actual future, that you can now change. And I think them setting him up to have a realization that, like, I can be something different than I am. I'm air quoting for people listening. I think that was great.
But then they also tell him that he hasn't.
Yeah.
Like, he's the bad guy.
Right.
He is they spend the entire episode telling him that he's a bad guy. You're a terrible bad guy. Stop being a bad guy. Come to this existential realization that you're doing all these things for misguided reasons, and that you are not as bad as you are claiming to be. And he comes to this realization and has this, like, deep moment as the god of mischief that, like, he has regret about what he's done. And then a guy turns around and he's like, oh, and I need your help because you are the bad guy. So, like, oh, man.
But I think that's one of the things that they'll probably explore, is that the bad guy of him is not him. Just like the one that he watched on the tape do all those, well, half of the terrible things was not him.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Yeah. He was pulled out, and he has the chance to be a different thing, and I think that's really cool. So, I don't know. I'm definitely excited about it. I did notice, like we've talked about in the past, there was no noticeable terrible language. It didn't stand out to me, and it was an excellent show. Proof that you don't need it. Falcon Winter Soldier.
Got your poo-poos and your pee-pees. Put them away. You need that. Just build a compelling story with character arcs and motivations and honesty.
Basically, 2 actors did an entire episode that was really, really, really good.
Yeah. The internet is I forgot the guy's name. The guy who doesn't know what a fish is and has all the infinity stones. They're making a meme out of him.
Oh man, my youngest, as soon as he like did the whole fish line and everything, he was like, I really like him. I hope he comes back. I'm like, we probably won't see him again, but you never know. All right. Got anything else on Loki?
Nope.
We'll talk more about it episode 2, after we see that one this week.
Yep.
Maybe we record again at the end of this week so we don't like push it off too far. But where can people find you?
On Instagram at Josh_MakeStuff, where you can also find a motorcycle for sale. We'll talk about that some other time too.
Yes. You can find all of us at I Like to Make Stuff on all the stuff. And big thanks to our Maker Alliance members. There's some interesting stuff happening on the Discord server. Oh, yeah, it's right down there. If you want to join that, you go to iliketomakestuff.com/join.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some interesting conversation happening right now on our Discord server. That's for Maker Alliance only. About a meetup, about an event that is in the future. But we're not doing it. They're doing it. But it's really cool to see them becoming a community that wants to actually get together in the real world and like do things for people.
Yep.
It's pretty awesome.
They talked about a service project, which swelled my heart.
Yeah, it is really, really cool. But big thanks to them for making the show and a lot of the other stuff we do possible.
They can come get a motorcycle to run.
They can come buy a motorcycle.
That'd be great.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, and we will be back. We'll be back really soon.
Bye bye.